Hey go-getters, welcome to the channel. This video comes as a response to a comment a subscriber dropped under one of my previous videos where I was talking about how you could embark on real estate with no money at all. So the comment reads, "This is just the type of video I needed. Could you please help us with a video of how to properly buy land in Africa, be it for residential or farmland purpose? Thanks." All right, so this comment was dropped by user DF something, so there's no proper name. I am going to be responding to this comment, and I believe his concern has to do with how you could buy land in Africa without getting into trouble. Basically, he wants to know how he could properly buy land in Africa safely, in other words. And that's something I believe a lot of people, especially the diasporans, go through. So I thought it wise of making this video and letting you guys know of my 3 years of experience in the real estate sector, as I equally fell into this trap that most Africans fall into when they are about to buy land in Africa. And this video is going to help a lot of people because most African countries actually face the same problems, from the price exploitation to the double buying and to the delay of receiving land titles. So these are pending problems in Africa that most people face. And if you are an African diaspora, I know that's the main problem you guys face over there. For I've had a lot of reports coming from the African diaspora that they face difficulty buying land in Africa. And that's why I recently decided to start helping people get land in Africa, and specifically in Cameroon, where I reside. And I've helped a couple of people already. And that said, I am glad to announce to you guys right here that we are working on how to set up an agency that is actually going to be helping everyone who wants to buy land in Africa and is not present in Africa, so that we could help you along the process and make sure you get your land smoothly. So if that is something that catches your interest, go nowhere, for we are starting right now. My name is Elvin Jig, and my mission is to make sure you attain your financial independence as soon as possible. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So coming from a place who had actually been a victim of a wrong deal when it comes to buying of land, and also who has been investing in the real estate sector for 3 years now, I believe I have enough information to share with you and make sure you don't make the same mistake I did. And if you click to watch this video, I believe you must have once fallen in such a trap, or you know someone who had once fallen in such a trap. But worry no more, for I am going to be clarifying lots of things today that are going to make sure you or anyone else never falls into that trap anymore. But before that, let me quickly give you an anecdote of what happened to me. Living in Cameroon, I have bought 2 plots of land, and I actually fell into the trap that 70% of Cameroonians fall into. And to spare you the details, I actually had to buy that land twice, which is something most people wouldn't do and would just back off. And that is actually the push I needed to get into the real estate industry, as that incident actually pushed me to get interested in the real estate industry. So I am making this video for you to learn from my mistakes and also from my knowledge acquired within these 3 years of being in the real estate industry. Most African countries face basically the same issues when it comes to buying of land. And also, the first thing you should do when you get into an African country before buying land, try and know or master the system. What type of system is it? Is it a federal system or is it a republican system? In countries like Nigeria, where there's a federal system, they have their own laws that they need to abide by. And in countries like Ghana, Cameroon, Congo, where it's a republic, you also have a way of functioning there. That said, the first thing you need to absolutely have in mind before you buy any land in Africa, which is a mistake lots of people do, is making sure you have a lawyer. Yes, I can never emphasize enough on that point, because that is where most people start failing. Get yourself a lawyer, okay? No matter how much that lawyer will be charging you, I can bet you it will be far more beneficial for you than to get into trouble. When it comes to hiring a lawyer, you are going to be spending just hundreds of dollars, but when it comes to land dispute, you are going to be losing thousands of dollars. Don't you dare try to boycott a lawyer or to bypass a lawyer, for you are going to regret it, okay? Make sure to get a lawyer, and you are going to understand why in this video as I proceed. For a lawyer not only serves as a guarantee for you buying the land, but also is going to walk you through the buying process to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. And also, the presence of a lawyer is going to scare the seller, making sure they transact with you transparently. Once you get your lawyer, the next thing you need to do is to get in contact with the seller of the land. Yeah, make sure you get to them and you get the matriculation number of that land. Get the identification number or the matriculation number of that land and go to the land tenure or land registry and get it verified. Yes, you need to do your homework by yourself. Get the land matriculation verified to make sure that the person selling that land to you is actually the rightful owner of that land. And when you go to verify the reference number, the most important thing is to check the identification number. That's the ID card of your seller, and make sure the name written on the ID card of your seller is the same name written on the land document. Yeah, they need to correspond. If there is no correspondence, then there's something definitely wrong somewhere. So if it doesn't, you then need to start raising eyebrows, for that is the most important point to consider, okay? Never you proceed with the buying of any land if the name on the seller's ID card doesn't correspond to the name on the land certificate. And that's where a lot of people get trapped. For we often hear things like, oh, it was my father's land, I am his son, or this happened, or that land was weird to me, or that land was that, or the person who sold me the land passed away without us finalizing the documents, or the person who sold me the land did this, the person who sold me the land did that, oh yeah, I actually bought the land, but I haven't yet had the matriculation on my name. Once those things don't correspond, you better back off. And at times you might be lured by the seller to rely on the witnesses. Oh, this is my brother, this is my uncle, they are all witnesses to this deal. No, never you get trapped in those lies, okay? Do your homework. Whenever you want to buy a piece of land in Africa, do your homework, or if you aren't present there to do it yourself, get people to do the verifications for you before proceeding with the buying of your land. And also, in most African countries, there's what we call tenure land. When we talk of tenure land, we have two types of land actually. We have free land and lease land. When we talk of free land, that's land where the owner has the ownership for life. And when we talk of lease land, that's land where the ownership has a limited amount of years to own that land. It could be 5 years, 10 years, etc. And the government often grants leased land for a limited amount of time for a reason. It could be that the government has projects on that land in future and they are just giving that person the permission to use that land for the meantime. So those are some of the things you need to know before buying land in Africa. For these sellers are never going to tell you the truth, okay? The sellers, all they are interested in is making money. They just want your money and they will do anything to lure you into buying that land. So it's left for you, like I said, to do your homework. And that's why buyers of land in Africa often suffer from price exploitation. Let me explain. When we talk of price exploitation here, it has to do with something called the mercurial, okay? In most African countries, the government sets a mercurial. That's something that has to do with the price range of land. And the government often sets prices of land according to the development of that particular area. So if you are not aware of the mercurial and you are not aware that you could use the mercurial set in place in that particular area as a measuring rod for your pricing of the land, you are going to be losing millions. So that's something you need to be aware before buying land in Africa. So basically what you need to do is, whenever you're interested in a piece of land, get to the land registry of that area and make sure you get all the details concerning that land, okay? Get an average price of how much land is supposed to be sold in that area and use it as a measuring rod for your negotiations. And in that light, there's also something very important you need to know, okay? There are certain places where the government has future projects there, and some people must have known already that the government has a project there, but you interested in that land, they aren't going to tell you, and they are going to go ahead and sell that land to you. So you need to do your verifications whenever you want to buy a piece of land in order not to fall in that trap, okay? Because in most African countries, the government doesn't dispute land with its citizens. When the government is interested in a set land, they would go ahead and take that land and probably compensate the landowners. But some owners are so greedy that they won't let people know that the government has bought that land from them. What they are going to do is go ahead and sell you that land, and you later on get into trouble with the government once you start exploiting that land. So in order to avoid getting into that trap, make sure you do your proper verifications before proceeding with the buying of any land. Once you've carried out all your verifications, you are set to proceed with the payment of your land. But there's something you need to absolutely do in countries like Cameroon. You need to go to a notary's office and do your payment right there before the notary. And aside from the notary, there's another important thing I would love you to do when you are buying land in most African countries, okay? Make sure to get yourself witnesses, okay? You will need a lawyer, a notary, and 2 other witnesses, okay? Witnesses are very, very important when it comes to land issues. For if you get into any land dispute, your witnesses are going to count for a good deal. Let me tell you why that step is so important. The notary is a state representative that grants you the technical document commonly called dossier technique, which is the only first document that attests that you are the buyer or the new owner of a set land. So make sure you do it right in front of a notary so that you could pay for that document and it could start being processed immediately. For that is the only way you are going to get some degree of guarantee as concerns that land. And that's why I love to advise people to avoid installmental payments when it comes to buying of land in Africa. For that's where you give gap to the seller of the land to double sell the land. Let me explain why. With the notary, you have the opportunity of paying your land cash and getting your document processed immediately already. But once you engage in paying for a land installmentally, there's nothing a notary can do for you, okay? The notary could issue you any attribution to that land only once you've paid fully for that land. And that's why a lot of people also get duped in Africa because of installmental payments. Once the seller of a land has gotten just part of the money from you, you haven't bought the land completely, and consequently, the land still fully belongs to them. And once they see someone who presents themselves in front of them with the complete money or with any amount superior to the amount you gave them, they are tempted to sell it back because all they're interested in is money, okay? Most of those sellers often don't have a conscience. They just want money, money, and money. Most landlords in Africa, I'm sorry to say this, are very unscrupulous. I have this friend whose husband lost over $8,000 for a piece of land he bought, but just for the simple fact that he bought it installmentally, he lost that land and found himself in a land dispute with 2 other buyers just because he didn't pay all his money cash, all right? He had lost a whopping $8,000 for a land he was supposed to buy for $10,000. So because he didn't pay the remaining $2,000 in time, he lost that land, okay? And once he discovered that he got duped, he got the landlord arrested, but later on discovered that that didn't get him back his money anyways. And he thought it well of just releasing the man. And that's because most times once they've sold the land, they just go ahead and squander the money. Most times they don't even have money to pay back. In his case, he was capable of arresting the landlord. But in some cases, you aren't even fortunate enough or have evidence enough to arrest the landlord. And even if you do have the money or the means to arrest the landlord, will that guarantee you back that land? What about the time wasted and even the money wasted in the court case? And I've seen another case where a beautiful plot of land has been wandering about unexploited for over 10 years just because 2 buyers were fighting over that land and no one wanted to let go. So you have every reason doing your verification and buying your land properly in order to avoid all these inconveniences. Imagine you having a beautiful project you want to embark on your piece of land, and you pay for it. Once you are about to start your project, you find yourself in a land dispute. And in a land dispute, you are not going to be losing only money, but also time. Your project is going to be on the standby because of that land, and you are going to lose lots of money just to get the land that you are not even sure to win the case at the end of the day. So isn't it better for you to do all your verifications and be on the safe side before paying for any land? So that's why I'm talking about paying your land cash. That's the only way you could guarantee about 90% of safety when you are buying land in most African countries, okay? What you would do is pay for your land cash and make sure right there in front of the notary, you have a certain fee to pay for your technical document. So make sure you pay it at once and insist right there in front of the notary that the landlord makes documents available for the notary to get in touch with the land survey agent of that land for them to start processing your technical document at once. For that's the only document, like I said, that guarantees or that indicates that you are the new owner of that land while waiting for your land title to be released. I've seen a lot of people lose their land just because they didn't have a dossier technique. I equally had to buy a land for the second time just because when I found myself in the land dispute, I didn't have a dossier technique or that technical document to present as the new owner of that land, okay? But since I loved that land so much and I had the courage to buy it back, having learned my lesson the hard way, I made sure I did all of these things I am talking to you about right now, and I got my dossier technique in a short notice and also got my land title subsequently smoothly. Now, let's assume you've bought your land and everything went on successfully. There's still something you need to do to guarantee that land, okay? You need to start investing in that land immediately, okay? When I mean immediately, I mean immediately, like now, okay? And by that, I simply mean investing on that land. Do anything you can to occupy that land, okay? Be it a cultivation of any crop or making anything there for anyone to come and stay there, or even at least fencing it, yeah. Some people do go ahead to fence their land as an extra guarantee for that scares away potential buyers, because once any conscious person sees a fenced land, they already have an idea that it belongs to someone already, okay? Though some landlords could still go ahead and double sell that land, claiming they are the ones who fenced it. But if you, the buyer, are smart, you would run away once you see a fenced land. So make sure you occupy your land in any way. For the worst thing you could ever do in Africa is to let your land sit virgin, okay? By virgin, we mean unoccupied. That's the most dangerous thing you could ever do. Once any land remains unexploited, it often attracts potential double buyers. So the good thing is you could go ahead and start building your property. But one thing I would advise you to here is also make sure you pay for the building permit, okay? Once you've gotten your technical document, you could start building or investing on your land. And in most countries, for your land title, you are going to need to pay a fee of 10 to 16% of the total amount you bought your land for as land title fee, okay? That is the amount you could pay for your land title to start being processed. So I would advise you do that as soon as possible, so that once you start investing in your land, you know already that your land title is being processed by the way. The reason why I am talking about getting a building permit before building is just for extra security, okay? There are some people who've gone ahead and started building before getting a building permit and never got into trouble. But you aren't sure that will be your case, okay? Because like I said, there are some pieces of land that are not supposed to be built on, okay? A seller could go ahead and sell you a land. Meanwhile, that land was not supposed to be sold. The government could have a future project about to be done on that land in future, and you might not know. So it's better you get a building permit for extra guarantee, okay? There's this client of mine that had to learn this the hard way. We started the project, and later on, some council agents came over and had to write an AD crossed with an X, okay? AD in French were just acronyms for à démolir, in English meaning to be dismantled. And he had no other choice than to stop constructions, and he lost lots of money already because we had done the foundation and the erectile stage. So he had to lose a lot of money, and we are talking here of millions in francs CFA. So that's why you should know that there are certain places where you are never to buy land because the government would never grant you a building permit. That said, let me give you some of those places where you should never buy land in order for you not to fall into this trap. The first place you should never buy a piece of land is anywhere close to a railway, okay? Any place close to a railway is not going to be granted permission to build, okay? So if you want to buy any plot of land, make sure it's at least 30 meters away from a railway line, okay? The second place you should avoid buying any land is any place in proximity to a high tension, okay? Once you see a high tension passing anywhere, there are often beautiful open plots of land by the high tensions that landlords always sell. I say always sell because I've seen cases like that, okay? So you need to have at the back of your mind that if you have to buy any land in proximity to a high tension, there should be a minimum distance of 15 meters. That is, once the high tension passes through an area, there should be a distance of 15 meters on both sides, okay? Or rather, on opposite sides. 15 meters this way, 15 meters that way. So anywhere above 15 meters from the high tension, you could go ahead and buy that plot of land. But if not, run for your dear life. And the next place I am going to be talking here about that you should know that you could never ever get a land title is marshy areas or swampy areas here. Know that every land in a swampy area normally belongs to the government. So sellers are going to let you know that that land belongs to them, but in reality, it doesn't. And at times, you could not know that an area is actually swampy, okay? Let me give you a tip of how to know that, okay? If you want to buy a land in a place where you are doubting its texture, make sure you go there during the rainy season, okay? Or if at all you can't wait for the rainy season, make sure to get enquiries from the neighbors, okay? You could go around in the neighborhood and go closer to those who have settled there and have an honest conversation with them to know how that area is during the rainy season, okay? So that's why I talk of doing your homework before buying any land, okay? You have the responsibility to do your homework because after everything, you are the one losing money. The landlords don't actually care. All they want is money. They don't generally care. So if you don't do your homework, you would have only yourself to blame. I am talking to you right now and smiling, but this is something I had to learn the hard way because I had to lose millions of francs CFA just because I didn't take time to do my homework. And that is a mistake I don't want you to make. So that's why I'm going to go ahead right now and summarize the main steps for you. Like I said, the first thing you have to do is check that area and make sure it is an area the government does not have any future projects there, okay? And also make sure to get yourself a lawyer. Once you have a lawyer, make sure to go close to the seller and get the reference number of the said land, go to the land tenure or the land registry and verify the matriculation there to make sure the name on the seller's ID is the same name on the main land title of that land. Once you've done all your checkups, get closer to a notary for the payment of your land and make sure you pay cash. Once you've paid, make sure to pay for your technical documents immediately for it to start being processed. And once you've done that, you could then go ahead to proceed with your investment once you've checked and made sure that land is a free land. And before you start building, it's advisable to get yourself a building permit before building. And in most African countries, you are going to be spending about 10 to 16% of the total amount you paid for that land to pay for your land title fee. And once you've done that, you can then comfortably sit and wait for your land title. Once you've successfully gone through all those steps and you finally built, you can then sit at the comfort of your home, sipping some wine, and think of Ervin Cheek to thank her. How about that? That was just an aside, by the way. Hope I greatly helped you with this video. And if you found value in this video, as I guess you've done, please subscribe to the channel and make sure to share this video as much as possible, for we need to make sure that people don't get trapped into this trap that almost 70% of Africans get trapped into. That said, thanks for watching this video and hope to see you on my next one.